Rediscovering the Roland VS-2480, a timeless classic. In the ever-evolving landscape of music production technology, the Roland VS-2480 remains a cherished relic of the past, yet it allures purists. But what is it about this vintage workstation that continues to captivate musicians and producers alike? Released in the early 2000s, the Roland VS-2480 was ahead of its time, offering an all-in-one solution for recording, mixing, and mastering, robust features, an intuitive interface that made it a favorite amongst professional studios. But with its hefty price tag, it meant a lot of people couldn't use it. Let's just put it that way. Like, you couldn't afford to buy it. I know when this thing came out, I really wanted it, but it really was out of my reach at the time. Fast forward to present day, the VS-2480 has become more accessible because the price has dropped. It's an older machine. At the same time, a lot of people that want to use this machine is older, like myself, who remember when this thing came out and couldn't get it. Now we make more money, the prices are lower, so with those two things, now people are really looking at this machine. So that's definitely a lot of nostalgia involved in wanting this machine, but it still holds its own as a powerful recording tool. So beyond the nostalgia part of it, why did I get it? With all the technology and all the things we can get, the hybrid systems, the software, you can use a computer, like, why even go there? I've had a lot of different setups. Why did I end up here? Well, before I had the VS-2480, my last setup was I had a computer running Cakewalk, which I've been using Cakewalk for many years. So I'm not just using the standard BandLab. I have all the extras that I bought over the years, and I brought it over to BandLab. So I was using BandLab Cakewalk, which I use sometimes, but not much. I was using that, and I had a Mackie 4880 Onyx mixing board. Now, this mixing board is huge. I mean, it had a lot of channels, 8 aux ends. I would use this board as like the central for everything. I would have all my synthesizers and drum machines plugged into it on one side, well, to the right side, and then to the left, I would mix 16 tracks off of Cakewalk into the board. So it really served like as the ins and outs and mixing and being able to send to my outboard gear and stuff like that. So I wanted to downsize, but I didn't want to give up the flexibility and all the inputs that Mackie board gave me, because this board was huge. When I was doing my research, and out of everything, I landed on the VS-2480 because it has a lot of ins and outs. It has 8 aux ends. It even has 8 more outputs that I can send out. It actually has a lot of outputs. Let me see if I can show you. So here's my 8 aux ends, and then it has 8 direct outs. And I would say really the difference is with the aux ends, you can adjust the amount of that's being sent to your outboard gear, where direct is this full-blown signal, but really it's 16 outs. And with this complex routing, you can send anything to anything, or as they say in the Roland video, anything, anywhere. So not only is this good as a mixer, but it's amazing as a patch bay. So as you can see, this can record, mix, I can edit waves, I can adjust my levels and panning, use it as a patch bay. This is really like the ultimate all-in-one. Like, you can do everything in it. It has effects. So I'm never gonna run out of effects because I can always use effects in here. Then if this is not enough, I can always send out to outboard gear. I mean, I can send to my Chronos, which has awesome effects. I can send to the MPC that has awesome effects. So that's kind of like one of the things, I've heard people say, like, the effects are dated, they're not the new stuff that's coming out, but you can always send it out to some new gear. So generally speaking, moving from my old system into this wasn't very hard because this really tied everything together. Now don't get me wrong, I had to learn how this works because I mean every machine has its own workflow. There are a few functions of the machine that won't work while the music's playing, but really other than that, man, this is awesome. In the previous videos, I've shown you my workflow on how I actually use this machine. Previously, I used to make the beats all in the MPC and just stem them out and put them in Cakewalk. But with this, I record directly into VS-2480. I put on the metronome and I actually play it live into the machine. That wasn't the original plan, but the reason why I end up doing that is because being that this is an older machine, to get audio into the machine besides just recording into it, you only have CDs. You don't have thumb drive, you don't have SD card. This machine came out before that became a thing. So what I do now is I just make the beat directly inside of VS-2480. That way I don't have to like stem it out on the MPC and then bring it in here. Don't get me wrong, I still make beats in the MPC, but for the most part, if I'm in the studio, I use the VS-2480. Would I recommend the VS-2480? And you might think I'm going to be biased on this, but really, I think it really just depends on you. It depends. If you're expecting this to work exactly like your DAW on your computer, then I would say no. Yes, you can cut and paste, you can split the waves and stuff like that, and you can move it around and you can mix. But really, it is kind of a little bit of a learning curve, and I think a change in your mindset too. You can use the mouse for all the functions, but for me, the purpose of buying this would be to be more hands-on. And I reach for the mouse where sometimes it just makes sense to do that. But for the most part, I'm using the knobs, I'm using the sliders, you know, I'm using the buttons to move stuff around. I mean, I can use the buttons to move around, and I could use the mouse to just click and do that. But a lot of times I'm just using the buttons because that's, like, to me, the point of having this machine is having a hands-on feel and only using a mouse when it really makes sense. And also recognizing that, you know, this is an older machine. It could die, knock on wood. It could die, you know what I'm saying? You could buy one today and next week it fails, you know what I'm saying? So that is somewhat of a risk, but that's true for any older machine, really. So my conclusion of why people are still interested in this machine, it's great. It's a great machine. You can still use it. It does a lot. It sounds great. Yes, there's a nostalgia part of it, but really, this is a very great, still usable machine that if you use it, you're not really missing out. And now it's affordable. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. In my next video, we're going to talk about this trio, my 2 Neutrons and the Pro 1, and how I use them. So subscribe, and I'll see you later.